Have you ever found yourself crying without tears, sitting in silence, staring at a door that never seems to open, wondering how long a heart can keep waiting before it finally gives up? You try, you really do. You wake up each morning hoping something will change. You smile, you pray, you keep your faith steady on the outside, but deep inside, you are tired. Tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of saying maybe this time, only to face the same disappointment again. It is a quiet kind of exhaustion, one that no one else sees, and sometimes not even you can explain. What do you do when you've done everything right, yet life keeps sending you the same test, the same heartbreak, the same silence? You feel like you're walking in circles. The road looks different, but the destination never changes. You start strong, you trust, you pray with sincerity, you believe, but then it slips through your hands again. The job, the marriage, the healing, the peace. It was almost yours, so close. But once again the door closes gently and you are left standing on the other side, wondering if you were ever meant to enter. And in these moments, questions begin to form inside you. Card question. Am I not good enough? Is Allah angry with me? Why does everyone else seem to move forward while I stay stuck? These thoughts are heavy, not because they're loud, but because they sit in your heart like weight you cannot lift. You carry them to bed. You carry them in prayer. You carry them in the way you respond when someone asks if you're okay. You smile, but your soul feels like it's slowly unraveling. But what if I told you something your heart needs to hear right now? What if I told you that you're not being punished? You're not being forgotten. You're not invisible to the one who created you. What if this delay you hate so much is not a rejection, but a divine preparation? What if the same door that keeps closing is not meant to shut you out, but to bring you closer to something greater, something you cannot see yet? As Allah Almighty says in the Quran, perhaps you dislike something which is good for you, and perhaps you love something which is bad for you. Allah knows, and you do not know. This verse was not revealed for someone else. It was revealed for all of us, for moments exactly like this, for times when your heart cannot understand the reason behind the delay, but your soul is still trying to trust anyway. Allah Almighty knows what you do not. He sees what you cannot, and He never writes a hardship without attaching to it a deep, lasting wisdom. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, whoever Allah intends good for, He puts them through trials. What a beautiful, almost unbelievable mercy, that the pain you are feeling right now may actually be a sign that Allah wants good for you. That this closed door might be saving you from a heartbreak you didn't see coming. That this long wait might be softening your heart for a gift you cannot yet carry, because Allah does not delay out of cruelty, He delays out of care. And sometimes He holds something back, not because you are unworthy, but because He's still shaping your soul into the kind of heart that can carry what is coming. He knows that if He gave it to you now, you might settle for less, you might misuse it, you might even forget Him. So in His wisdom, He keeps you waiting, not to punish you, but to protect you. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels unfair at times, but trust this, even when your faith feels tired, every prayer you whispered was heard. Every tear that fell in private was seen. Every moment you resisted despair and chose to believe again, even when nothing changed, was written down. You have not been walking in circles, you have been walking through refinement, through growth, through silent preparation for something your heart cannot yet imagine. So before you give up, before you say it's never going to change, before you believe the lie that you are not enough, breathe, pause, remember who you are praying to, remember whose timing you are trusting. You're not walking alone, you are being led gently through a path only Allah can design. And if the same door keeps closing, then maybe that door was not built for you. Maybe something better is waiting just a few steps further. Maybe this is not your ending, maybe this is the beginning of your becoming. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep praying, because you are not being ignored, you are being prepared. There is a kind of pain that's hard to explain. It's not the pain of complete loss. It's not the pain of never trying. It's the pain of almost healed, almost chosen, almost accepted, almost free. And somehow that word almost hurts more than failure itself, because you were right there, you had hope in your hands, you saw the door begin to open, you even took a step forward, and then without warning you sit quietly after, not just confused but wounded. You whisper to yourself, I thought this would be it. You stare at the ceiling and think, why does it keep slipping away right at the end? And no one really sees how much it breaks you, because from the outside you look fine, you're surviving, you're smiling. But inside you are tired of being close and still losing. You're tired of being patient and still being asked to wait. You are tired of hoping and still not receiving. And what makes it hard is that you've been doing everything right. You pray, you cry to Allah Almighty, you do your part, you try your best to stay grateful, but nothing seems to change. The blessing still doesn't come. The outcome still falls apart. And quietly you begin to wonder if you're the problem. Maybe you're not worthy. Maybe you're being punished. Maybe Allah doesn't want to answer you. These thoughts creep in, even if your heart knows better. Because pain has a way of blurring your vision, of making you doubt the very faith you once held strong. But here is a truth you may have forgotten. Not every repeated struggle is a sign of rejection. Sometimes it is a sign of refinement, a sign that something greater is being prepared behind the scenes. A sign that your heart is being taught how to carry something far bigger than what you are praying for. You see, when you are close to something special, your test becomes harder. Because Allah Almighty is not just testing your patience, He is shaping your strength, He is polishing your trust, He is building a foundation inside you so that when the blessing arrives, it does not break you, it grows you. As Allah Almighty says in the Quran, indeed with hardship comes ease. This verse is not just comfort, it is a promise. But notice how ease does not always come before the struggle. It comes with it, hidden inside it, wrapped in the very moments you are asking to be rescued from. This means that the very almosts you are tired of may actually be carrying seeds of something greater. And you may not even realize it until the test is over and your heart looks back with clarity. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, be mindful of Allah and He will protect you. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him in front of you. What a beautiful reminder that even when nothing seems to be moving around you, Allah is still with you, still guiding, still protecting, still shaping every moment into something meaningful. Maybe that job you almost got would have drained your soul. Maybe that person you almost married was not the one who would protect your faith. Maybe that opportunity you almost reached would have taken you further from your purpose. And maybe, just maybe, Allah held it back to give you something better. Not necessarily easier, but better for your growth, your faith, your long-term peace. It is not easy to believe this when your heart is aching, when all you see is what you lost. But belief in those moments is what makes your faith real. Anyone can be grateful when the doors open, but what about when they close again and again? What about when you are left with only prayer and patience? That is where true surrender begins. That is where real growth happens. That is where hearts are reshaped by mercy, even through pain. So if you find yourself repeating the same cycle, praying, trying, almost reaching, and then losing again, do not rush to blame yourself. And do not rush to blame Allah. Instead, ask, what is Allah trying to build inside me through this? Because He never repeats a test without purpose. And He never holds something back without preparing you for something greater. Your almost are not wasted. Your delays are not forgotten. Every time you fall to the ground and cry out to Allah, something shifts. Maybe not in your circumstances yet, but always in your heart. And sometimes that shift is more important than the answer you are waiting for. So stay in prayer, stay in trust, stay in the quiet company of the one who sees what no one else sees. Because what looks like a cycle of disappointment may actually be a staircase to something sacred, and you might be just one step away. Keep walking, keep hoping, because the almosts are not the end of your story. They are part of the path that leads to the chapter you cannot yet imagine. There are moments in life when the pain is too deep for words, when no advice brings comfort, when no hug feels long enough, when the one you leaned on, the one who held your world together, is suddenly gone. And you are left in a silence that echoes through your soul. Ummah Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, knew this kind of pain. She knew what it felt like to lose someone who wasn't just her husband, but her companion in faith, her strength in hardship, her safe place in a world that had turned harsh and heavy. Her life with Abu Salama was filled with sacrifice. They migrated for their faith. They endured trials side by side. They were among the earliest Muslims to give up comfort and safety for the sake of what they believed in. Their bond was not just emotional, it was spiritual, rooted in faith, grown in trust, strengthened by love. And then after everything they went through together, he passed away. Just like that. No final words, no last goodbye. She was left with his memory, their children, and a grief that wrapped itself around her heart like a storm that would not pass. What do you do in that moment? When the pain is not just about losing someone, but about losing the life you built with them. When your future becomes a blur and your past feels like the only place you ever belonged. Salama did something incredible, something we often overlook. She made a prayer, a quiet, broken-hearted prayer. She said, "Oh Allah, reward me for my affliction and give me better than in return." But the moment the words left her mouth, she questioned herself. Who could be better than Abu Salama, she wondered. She truly believed there was no one better. That was the depth of her love. That was the honesty of her grief. But she still said it. She still surrendered, even though her heart could not imagine what better could mean. She still gave her pain to Allah Almighty. She still believed that somehow, some way, her broken heart could be healed by the one who created it. As Allah Almighty says in the Quran, whoever fears Allah, He will make a way out for them and provide for them from where they do not expect. Exactly what happened to her. Her heart could not expect it, her mind could not imagine it, but sometime after her grief had settled into quiet surrender, she received a proposal. Not just from anyone, but from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The greatest man to ever walk this earth. The one who was known for his mercy, his strength, his gentleness. The one whom Allah Almighty sent as a mercy to the world. That same man now asked for her hand in marriage. Imagine her heart in that moment. Not just healed, but honored, not just restored, but elevated. Because what she thought was the end of her story was only the middle. What she thought was the greatest loss she would ever face was the door to the greatest gift she would ever receive. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, whoever gives up something for the sake of Allah, I will replace it with something better. And sometimes the better is so beyond what we imagined that we hesitate to even believe it's possible. But there is a space between the loss and the gift. And that space is a test of trust, a test of patience, a test of whether you will keep praying when the answers don't come, a test of whether you will still believe in the mercy of Allah when your world feels cold and dark. Salama lived in that space. And maybe right now, maybe you are in a season of waiting, a season where nothing feels certain, a season where you are doing everything right and still nothing is working, and it hurts, it confuses you, it tempts you to stop trying.